Today you're going to work on printing your emoji printing plate that you've been creating. You've worked hard on creating a design that you drew on paper, and then you transferred the image to the styrofoam printing plate. You then were instructed any areas that you wanted to print as black in the design to leave those as high spots on the plate, so to essentially leave those alone. Any areas that you wanted to be color in the design, you went ahead and you took a pencil and you compressed it down very carefully, trying to get as many low spots in these wide areas as you possibly could. Once that process is done, it's time to go ahead and start printing. We are going to be using the brayer, which is the roller that's going to thin out the ink here on the inking tray. The brayer will then transfer a thin layer of ink onto the actual printing plate, and then you're going to transfer the ink from the printing plate onto the paper. You'll be printing multiple times for this project. Now, this printing plate, as you can tell, it's bowing a little bit. It's hard to keep areas as low spots when there's such wide open areas. When you roll the ink from the brayer onto the printing plate, you are going to find in the areas that you want to be the color of the emoji face, there will be some speckling that happens, because when you have such a large expanse, some of those areas don't really want to lay down as low as they could. But overall, you should have a nice amount of low areas and some high areas that transfer the design to the paper. So let's begin. Now, remember, when you're printing, we do not take the ink and smash it all, the brayer, and smash it down in all of the ink. You want to take little bits of ink at a time and then slowly transfer it to the plate. If you have too much ink on here, when you go to roll on your plate, it will certainly fill in all of those areas, and it's going to be really hard to see the actual emoji face that you were trying to go for. So we take a little bit of ink, just a little bit, and then we roll it back and forth on our inking tray. So back and forth without rolling the brayer through the whole pile of ink. So I'm going to spread that ink out nice and thin on my inking tray, and therefore keep it nice and even and thin on my brayer. You can see it's got like a nice sheen to it, but there aren't gobs and piles of ink that are falling off of it. So I would like to print onto these papers. I'm going to move them out of the way so I don't accidentally roll all over them and get them messy in areas I'm not looking for them to be messy. So all of the high areas, the first time I roll that ink on there, should pick up the black, and then all of the low areas shouldn't really pick up much ink. It might pick up a little bit, but we'll see. So I'm going to roll, and I'm going to roll. And you can see all of my low areas, the time that I took compressing that all down with the pencil, all of those areas are going to show up as the color in my design. All of the high areas, the ones that I left alone that I wanted to print as black, you can see they're picking up that black ink. So I'm looking for my plate to be shiny black. Right now it's not. It's black in some areas, no ink at all in others, and some gray areas in the rest. So ultimately I want a nice shiny black plate. The key is to take ink slowly with this project, thin layer by thin layer. If you add too much ink too fast, you're going to find that it will fill in a lot of the gaps a lot more than you'd like. So roll, roll. I'm going to get a little bit more ink. This is a repetitive process. Printmaking is a repetitive process. You do repeat the things that you need to do for the process multiple times. Roll, roll. It's still a little bit white down here on the edge. Sometimes it just happens with printing plates. No matter how much you try to fill it in, it doesn't always work the way you'd like it to. But sometimes rolling in a different direction can help, as you can see that did. So my plate now, in the areas that I want to print, you can see it's shiny. When you see that it's shiny, you're ready to go. So I'm going to print with my yellow one first. I'm going to put my paper down. The paper and the plate should be the same size. So I'm going to carefully lay that down. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to burnish. So burnishing is the act of applying pressure with your fingertips. So I want to make certain I'm pressing kind of firmly, and I want to hit all edges of the plate. I want to make certain I'm getting the center of the plate where my face is. Now, you will have some speckling on your image, and that's fine. It will pick up some low areas with ink, and something of this nature, that's totally normal. So don't be alarmed or frustrated or upset if that happens. So I'm making certain I'm hitting all the edges, holding it firmly, And then I'm ready to go ahead and pull my print. If I have enough ink and enough pressure, it should transfer pretty well. Oh, and there we go. Okay, so like I said, you will get some speckling in there. It's sort of a nice texture that it adds to the emoji face. So this is one print down. Now I need to do some more. So it's going to be the same process. I would roll the ink on here again until it's a nice shiny black, and then I would get my next paper, and then I would transfer the image. You can either put the paper directly on there, or you can turn the plate over and print onto the paper like that. But I can't print with this one yet because I need to re-ink it. I need to go through that repetitive process again of adding a little bit of ink under the brayer and then in tiny little layers onto the roller. When you are done, you will end up picking 4 of the prints that you'd like to use, and we're going to be putting them together in sort of an Andy Warhol pop art inspired effect.